I shelled out 14 grand for a family trip to Virginia Beach. But then my wife pulled a fast one. She decided to bring her ex-boyfriend along instead and told me to stay behind so he could take my place. Her mother, wearing that smug little grin she always has, looked right at me and said, "Why not give Logan COLIN'S ticket?" I didn't react the way they expected. I simply smiled, reached into my pocket, and made one phone call, a call that would flip their world upside down for good. Name's Colin Mercer. I'm 46, and for nearly 2 decades, I thought I had life all mapped out. I run Mercer Home Experts, a home renovation company that I built from the ground up. Took me from a guy with just a beat-up pickup truck to someone sitting comfortably with a 7-figure net worth. It all began with buying up foreclosed houses in neighborhoods most folks wouldn't drive through after dark. I did everything myself at first, fixing them up on weekends, late nights, even during the holidays. Jenna and I have been married for 18 years now. We crossed paths back when I was still hustling to get my foot in the door. She worked at a real estate firm, sharp as a tack, always flashing that winning smile, and she knew how to charm just about anyone. She helped me scout out those first few properties, and somewhere in the middle of open houses and paperwork, I fell for more than just her business advice. Getting married felt like the obvious next step. We were a team, both in life and in business. As the company took off, so did her taste for the finer things. About 4 years ago, I bought us a custom colonial out in Ridgewood Heights, beautiful place, for bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and a top-of-the-line chef's kitchen Jenna just had to have, even though she barely sets foot in it. While I spend my days transforming houses for other folks, the one we live in feels more like a showroom than a home. 2 years back, after her father passed away, Jenna's mom, Linda, moved in with us. At the time, it seemed reasonable. We had the space, and she needed financial help. What I didn't see coming was how fast she'd start acting like she was the one footing the mortgage. She treats me less like a son-in-law, and more like the full-time handyman who also happens to pay all the bills. Then there's Kyle, Jenna's younger brother. He's 34, but according to her, he's still figuring things out. I've got another word for it: freeloading. Kyle always has some can't-miss startup idea that just needs a little bit of seed money. And somehow, I've become his personal ATM. I've covered his car payments, his rent, even picked up his groceries a few times. Success has a funny way of changing how people treat you. You're no longer just Colin, you're the guy with deep pockets. The one they assume won't notice a few $1,000s here or they're going missing. That's why I put together the Virginia Beach trip, to hit the pause button and reconnect. This year's been great for business. I flipped a dozen homes, clearing an average of 46 grand apiece. I figured it was time to celebrate a little. Get the family together, take a breather. I booked a massive oceanfront rental for a full week. Place ran me about $14,000, but it had everything. I was hoping we'd all relax, maybe even remember why we call ourselves a family in the first place. Looking back now, I should have seen it coming. In my line of work, I'm used to calling the shots, but when it comes to my own family, I'm apparently just the guy swinging the hammer, not the one drawing the blueprints. 2 weeks before the trip, the cracks started to show. It all began during what should have been a regular dinner chat. I was sitting at our kitchen island, granite countertops and all, with my laptop open, finalizing the details for the beach house. It was perfect. 5 bedrooms, private pool, direct access to the sand, the whole package. I'd already paid the deposit, booked 5 plane tickets, even hired a private chef for 2 nights of the stay. The house could easily sleep 11. I turned the screen to Jenna and said, "Your mom can have the master downstairs, easier on her knees. Kyle can take the twin bedroom, might remind him of being a kid again." She barely even looked at the pictures. Instead, she scrolled through her phone, with that half-smile on her face, the one I used to adore, but lately just made me uneasy. "That sounds nice, babe," she mumbled. "I'm still on the screen. But actually, we might need to rethink who's sleeping where." I shut the laptop and gave her my full attention. "What do you mean?" "Well," she started casually, "I bumped into Logan at the grocery store yesterday." She said his name like it was no big deal, like he was some guy from work, not the ex-boyfriend she dated all through college. We got to talking. He's had a rough go lately, just finalized a nasty divorce. My jaw clenched. Logan Hayes. I knew exactly who she was talking about. He was the guy she was with for 4 years before she met me. The same guy whose photo I found hidden in her jewelry box a couple years into our marriage. The same Logan who crashed our wedding reception uninvited and caused such a scene that my best man had to kick him out. "Well, that's rough," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But what's that got to do with our vacation?" She finally looked up from her phone. I invited him to join us, she said. You know, help take his mind off everything. Could be fun, like old times. Those words hit me like a gut punch. I just stared at her, waiting for her to laugh it off, to say she was joking. But she didn't. You're telling me, I said, slowly, that you invited your ex-boyfriend to join us on our family vacation? My voice was calm, but tight. Oh, Colin, come on, she said, brushing it off with a wave of her hand. That was 2 decades ago. We're all grown-ups now. She didn't even seem fazed. And it's not like the house isn't big enough. Plus, you're always saying family should support each other. Logan isn't family. I said it plain and simple. Jenna, he's your ex. Ancient history, she shot back, standing up and grabbing her coffee like we were having some silly debate over what movie to watch. Honestly, I thought you'd be more mature about this. It's just a vacation. Just a vacation. The one I planned. The one I paid for. Every last detail me. Now it was turning into her reunion tour with Logan as the guest of honor. Right then, her mother Linda shuffled in, her walker clacking across the tile. What's this about Logan joining? She asked, already grinning. Oh, how lovely. I always liked that boy. So much more energetic than some people. She didn't even try to hide the jab. 18 years of marriage, 2 decades of paying the bills, and I was still being measured against a guy who never even stuck around long enough to propose. It's settled then, Jenna said, totally unfazed. I'll send him the flight details tonight. And there I sat, watching my wife and her mother plan my trip like I didn't even exist. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't some spontaneous thing. No, the way they talked about it, the casual tone, the way the pieces all fit, it had already been decided. Planned. I was just the last fool to find out. Now the family dinner? That was supposed to be a celebration. Linda insisted on making her famous pot roast. Everybody was even on time, which almost never happened. I should have known something was up when Kyle showed up without asking for money first. We all sat around the big dining table I'd built myself out of reclaimed oak, another one of my projects nobody really gave a damn about. Linda sat at the head like a queen on her throne. Jenna was next to her, Kyle across from me, and Logan, Logan, right beside my wife like he belonged there. I'll admit it. The guy looked good. Still had that charm that used to drive me crazy. He'd filled out a bit, looked successful. Maybe 44 now, wearing one of those shirts that probably cost more than most people's rent. This house is incredible, Colin, he said while slicing into his meat like he hadn't barged into my life. Jenna's told me about your flipping business. Sounds like you built something solid. 11 houses this year, I replied evenly. 46 grand average profit per property. Linda cleared her throat like she couldn't wait to steer the conversation. Logan was just telling us about his new restaurant venture, she said, practically beaming. For locations already, isn't that right, dear? Dear. She called him dear. Right at my table. It's been a good run, Logan said, all humble-like. Though I have to admit, Colin, I envy what you've got here. Beautiful home, thriving business, perfect family. His eyes lingered on Jenna just a little too long. Kyle, never one to pick up on tension, piped up. So, Logan, you pumped for Virginia Beach? Should be a blast having you there. I set my fork down. Actually, we haven't finalized those plans yet. The room went cold. Silent. Linda's smile vanished. What do you mean finalized? Jenna looked annoyed. I already told Logan he could come. And now I'm telling you, I said, calm but firm, that I have some concerns. Logan raised both hands. Hey, if this is going to be a problem, I'll sit this one out. Last thing I want is to stir things up. No. Linda snapped. You're not going anywhere. Colin's just being difficult. Difficult. That's what they called it when I didn't want my wife sex tagging along on the trip I funded. This was supposed to be a family vacation, I said. Logan isn't family. Kyle muttered under his breath. He's more family than you think. The words hit like a cold slap. I looked around the table. The smirks, the smug looks. This wasn't about letting Logan tag along. This was about replacing me. What does that mean, Kyle? I asked, narrowing my eyes. Before he could say a word, Jenna jumped in. It means you're being selfish, Colin. We're trying to help someone through a tough time, and all you care about is money. The money I earned. The vacation I booked. For them. Our money, Linda snapped. Marriage makes it our money. I looked at Logan, pretending to be all polite, but I could see it. That little flash of victory in his eyes. You know what? I said, pushing back from the table. You're right. It is our money. So here's what we're going to do. I pulled out my phone and started typing. Colin, what are you doing? Jenna asked, her voice rising. Making a few updates to our travel plans. I canceled the first flight right there at the table. Ding, confirmation email. Refund processing. Colin, stop this right now. Linda shouted. I didn't even look at her. I was already on to the next one. You can't just cancel our vacation. Jenna yelled, jumping to her feet. Watch me. Ding. Second cancellation confirmed. Then came the third cancellation. That's when Logan finally opened his mouth, voice calm and smooth like he'd just walked off a talk show. Look, Colin, maybe we should talk this out like adults. I didn't even glance up right away. Adults? You mean the kind that make big decisions like inviting their exes on family vacations without bothering to ask their spouse first? That's enough, Jenna snapped. You're embarrassing yourself. I let out a laugh. Not a happy one. More like the kind that's been sitting in your chest for way too long. Embarrassing myself? Please. I'm not the one turning our anniversary getaway into some awkward little reunion. Kyle leaned back in his chair, smirking like he was enjoying the drama. Come on, man. Don't be such a control freak. We're all gonna have a blast. I looked him square in the eye. Here's the thing about fun, Kyle. The person footing the bill gets to define what fun looks like. With a couple more taps, I canceled the beach house rental. 14 grand right back in my account. Just like that. Linda's face went from red to purple. You can't do this to family. I slid my phone back in my pocket. You're absolutely right. I can't do this to family. But to people who treat me like a walking ATM? Yeah, I absolutely can. Jenna's tone turned ice cold. Fine. If that's how it's gonna be, then we'll give your ticket to Logan. At least he knows how to enjoy life. And there it was. The confirmation I didn't even need, served up right at my own dinner table. My ticket, I said, real quiet. Jenna didn't blink. Logan's coming with us whether you like it or not. If you don't want to go, that's your call. We'll be fine without you. Logan shifted in his seat like he was trying to look uncomfortable, but that little smirk on his face gave him away. I scanned the table one last time. My wife, ready to swap me out like some used appliance. Her mother, looking at me like I was the hired help. Her brother, loving the show. And Logan, sitting there like he'd already moved in. You know what, Jenna? I said, standing up. You're right. You will be just fine without me. I walked to my office, grabbed my laptop, and started typing. New flight. 1 passenger. 1 way. And not to Virginia Beach. Behind me, I could hear Jenna's voice getting louder. Colin, get back here. You can't just leave. But the truth was, I already had. In every way that counted, I was gone. The confirmation popped up. 1-way flight to Emilia-Romagna. Leaving in 4 days. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. A real one. I packed light. Just 1 suitcase with the basics. While I zipped it up, my phone started lighting up like a Christmas tree. Texts from Jenna. Voicemails from Linda. Even some long-winded message from Kyle about how I was overreacting to a simple misunderstanding. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called Trevor Banks, the lawyer who helped me set up my business years ago. He picked up after a couple rings. Colin, bit late for business, isn't it? Trevor, I need you to start separation proceedings. Tonight, if possible. There was a pause. Then he said, okay. Want to tell me what's going on? So I gave him the short version. The surprise invite. The stolen vacation. Jenna's little ultimatum about Logan taking my place. He listened quietly, then asked, how long have you two been married? 18 years. Kids? Nope. Property. House is in my name. Business too. I've got the paperwork. Smart man, he said. I'll draw up the papers first thing in the morning. You want to come in swinging? No, Trevor. I want to come in with everything the law will allow. After we hung up, I logged into our accounts. Moved a chunk of money out of the joint ones and into my business account. Not all of it, just enough to protect what I earned. I wasn't hiding anything. Jenna hadn't put a dime into savings in years anyway. That's when my phone rang again. Jenna's name. This time I picked up. Colin, what on earth are you doing? She demanded. Kyle says you called a lawyer. Well, Kyle should stay out of grown folks' business. This is insane. It's just a vacation. No, Jenna. It's a vacation where you invited your ex-boyfriend, then told me he could have my ticket. That's not a vacation. That's a message. He's not replacing you, she yelled. Then why offer him my spot? I asked. Dead silence. I was mad, she finally said. I said some things I didn't mean. No, you meant every word. You just didn't expect me to take it seriously. Colin, please. Come home. We can fix this. I looked around the quiet hotel room I'd booked for the night. Clean. Peaceful. No one shouting. No one taking me for granted. Home. I said softly. Yeah. I think I'm finally headed there. I'm home, Jenna, I told her. For the first time in years, I actually feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. She didn't miss a beat. What about the business? Everything we've built together? I let out a quiet breath. We? What did we build together, exactly? I built that business from the ground up. I bought the house. I kept your family afloat. You tell me, what did you build? She went quiet again. Then came the warning. If you go through with this, Colin, there's no turning back. You're right, I said. There isn't. And that was it. I ended the call and shut off my phone. Tomorrow, I'd be boarding a flight to Bologna, Italy. But that night, I was finally going to get some real sleep. No arguing. No pressure. No more walking on eggshells around people who saw me as nothing but a wallet with legs. They thought this was a game. Now they were going to find out what happens when the one funding the game walks away. For days later, I was sitting at a cafe in Bologna, sipping espresso, when Megan, Kyle's ex, sent me the pictures. She dumped him a month earlier, but still lived near Linda. And apparently, she still had eyes on everything. The photos were too good not to share, she texted. And boy, was she right. There they were, standing in the Virginia Beach airport, looking like life had just smacked them upside the head. Linda in one of her bright floral dresses, clutching her walker like it owed her money. Jenna, dressed up in her vacation outfit, mascara running down her cheeks. Kyle, hauling 3 oversized bags, looking lost and pissed off. And Logan, off to the side, already on his phone, probably calling an Uber before things got worse. Megan gave me the play-by-play. They'd shown up early, all decked out in matching shirts that read Mercer Beach Bash 2024. Full-on family photo shoot mode. But when they reached the counter, the airline agent told them there were no tickets reserved under their names. Jenna broke down in tears. Linda demanded a manager. Kyle lost it and tossed one of the bags. I kept scrolling. The family t-shirts were a nice touch, bright yellow, palm trees, and my last name front and center. I'll never see that money again, but it was worth it for the poetic justice. Megan said Logan didn't last long. Walked away within 20 minutes. Didn't even say goodbye. That sounded about right. Logan always bailed when things got messy. Probably part of the reason his business was circling the drain. The last photo was the best. All of them in the airport food court, slumped over with their luggage, staring at their phones like they could magically undo the mess they made. I forwarded the whole batch to Trevor, my lawyer. Proof they tried to go on the trip using marital funds after the separation, I wrote. His reply came quick. These are perfect. No signs they intended to reconcile. Solid for the case. I ordered another espresso and flipped open my laptop. The little apartment I'd rented had a view of the river, and the sunlight streaming through the window made it the perfect place to focus. I had 3 properties back in the States I was considering buying. My local guy could handle the walkthroughs. I was in no rush. My phone buzzed again, another message from Megan. Linda's saying you had some kind of emotional breakdown. Claims you ran off with their vacation money and abandoned your family. I texted back. How's that narrative holding up? Not great, she wrote. Everyone knows they were just using you. I smirked and shut off my phone. Linda could say whatever she wanted. But at the end of the day, the truth always comes out, especially when you've got paperwork and receipts to back it up. In a couple of days, I had a viewing scheduled for a small villa just outside the city. Nothing over the top. Just a quiet place where I could breathe without someone asking me for a favor or a check. 18 years I spent putting everyone else first. Now, I was finally living for me, and it felt really good. 2 weeks into this new chapter, I decided to peek at social media. Probably shouldn't have, but I was curious. Big mistake. And also, exactly what I needed. Jenna had posted a long, teary status about how her heartless husband had walked out over a simple misunderstanding. 34 comments, mostly her book club friends, all calling me selfish or accusing me of having a midlife meltdown. Linda had shared the post too. Some people show their true colors when life gets hard. Pray for my daughter during this difficult time, she wrote. I took screenshots and sent them to Trevor. His reply, perfect. They're helping us make our case. Keep collecting everything. But Megan wasn't done either. She dropped her own post in a local Facebook group, with all the airport photos and a blow-by-blow of what really happened. And the comments there? A whole different vibe. Colin was always too good for that family, wrote Paula Carson, one of my past clients from a home flip. They treated him like a personal ATM, someone else added. Jenna brought her ex on their vacation and expected Colin to pay for it. Jason Lou from my old gym chimed in. Good for him for walking away. Even a few of Jenna's old friends were turning on her. One woman said she remembered Jenna bragging about how I paid for everything while she did whatever she pleased. Maybe I finally had enough, and it showed. The tide was starting to turn, and Jenna could feel it. Her next post was pure damage control. People are spreading lies about my family. The truth will come out in court. Court. So now she wanted to fight this? I called Trevor while sitting at a little cafe overlooking the Cattedrale di San Pietro in Bologna. The bells were chiming in the distance, and tourists buzzed around like bees. But my focus was razor sharp. She's planning to contest the divorce, I told him. Trevor didn't even blink. Let her. We've got records proving you paid for everything. We've got airport photos and witness statements. And now, she's posted on social media basically admitting she invited Logan on the trip without your knowledge. What about alimony? Look, Colin, you were married 18 years, and yeah, she hasn't worked in 16. Normally, that's a concern. But inviting another man, especially an ex, on a family vacation you funded? That's a game changer. Judges don't like that kind of disrespect. And don't forget, her mom and brother have been living off your dime for years. So what's the plan? We fight. And we win. I've already filed motions to lock down your business and the house. If she wants to play hardball, she's about to find out what that really means. After we hung up, I wandered the narrow cobbled streets of Bologna. All around me were families sharing meals, laughing together, passing dishes around like it meant something. Real families. The kind that share, not just take. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Logan. Colin, can we talk? This has gone too far. I stared at it for a moment, then replied. You're right. It went too far when you accepted my wife's invitation to my vacation. Don't contact me again. He tried calling right after. I blocked the number without hesitation. That night, I had dinner at a tiny restaurant run by a man whose son was getting married soon. He barely spoke English, and my Italian was garbage, but we sat there talking about family and legacy over a bottle of wine. Didn't need perfect words. Some things just make sense, no matter the language. A month into my stay, Trevor called again, this time with news that made my espresso taste even sweeter. Colin, he said, you're not going to believe what just landed on my desk. Your wife's credit card statements from the past 7 months. I was sitting on the terrace, morning sun pouring over the hills. What am I not going to believe? She and Logan have been seeing each other regularly since February. Hotels, restaurants, even a weekend in Charleston. Remember that girl's trip she claimed she took with Linda? Yeah, that wasn't Linda. And just like that, all the weird little things clicked into place. The phone calls that stopped when I walked in. Her sudden interest in reconnecting with old friends. Those mysterious errands. How much? I asked. About $7,800. All on the joint credit card you've been paying. Send me everything. Already did, Trevor said. But there's more. I had a private investigator look into it. Logan's car? It's been parked in your driveway every night for the past 3 weeks. I can't say I was shocked. It still stung. 18 years of marriage, and she swapped me out quicker than a busted coffee maker. So, what now? I asked. We're amending the petition to include adultery and misuse of marital funds. In South Carolina, that affects everything, assets, alimony, even attorney fees. How soon? Papers get served tomorrow morning. Your wife's about to have a very, very bad day. After that call, I walked down to the village market. Picked up fresh vegetables and beef shanks. Francesca, the vendor who'd taken it upon herself to teach me Italian cooking, handed me some extra marrow bones when she heard what I was making. Ossobuco. Matrimonio finito, she asked, pointing at my bare ring finger. See? Finito, I replied. She smiled and patted my hand. Meglio solo che male accompagnato. Later, I looked it up. Better alone than in bad company. Francesca didn't say much, but when she did, it landed. That evening, as the ossobuco simmered, I called Megan for an update. Colin, she said, it's like a live soap opera over here. Logan's basically moved in, but he and Jenna are fighting nonstop. Linda's telling people they're engaged. Jenna keeps denying it. And Kyle's trying to rope Logan into some half-baked business deal. What about the house? Falling apart. Nobody's mowing the lawn. It's a jungle. And I saw a pizza delivery guy waiting outside for 25 minutes because nobody inside wanted to pay. I laughed. That house had stood strong for 18 years under my care, and now it was falling apart right along with the people inside. Oh, and Colin? Logan's restaurant? It's worse than anyone thought. Bankruptcy papers were filed last week. Perfect. My replacement wasn't just a homewrecker. He was broke, too. Thanks for keeping me posted, Megan. She paused. Are you happy, Colin? I mean, really? I looked out over the vineyard below my terrace. Workers were harvesting grapes in the soft, golden light. Tomorrow I was driving to Rome to check out a little apartment near the Pantheon. Next week, I had meetings lined up with 2 Italian contractors looking for an American consultant. I took a sip of wine and smiled. Yeah, I said. For the first time in a long, long time, I really am. Yeah, Megan, for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. 5 months into my new life in Bologna, a letter showed up at my apartment. Just seeing Jenna's handwriting on the envelope made my stomach twist. But I'd come too far to let her words mess with me now. I opened it while sitting out on the balcony, sipping my espresso, looking out over a river as the morning light danced on the water. Colin, it started. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I have to say this. You were right about everything. Logan walked out the day after the divorce papers hit. Took the last grand from my checking account and vanished. Haven't heard from him since. I paused and looked down at a little tourboat drifting past. A bunch of Italian tourists were snapping photos, laughing, just living their lives, no drama. The letter kept going. Mom had to move into senior housing. Her meds aren't covered without your insurance, and she can't afford them now. Kyle's girlfriend kicked him out. He's crashing on some friend's couch. The house went into foreclosure last month. I'm in a studio apartment, working at a call center. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. I know I messed up, she wrote. I know I took you for granted. Logan made me feel young again, like I was special. But now I realize you were the one who made me feel that way. You gave me a life I never could have built on my own. The truth. Finally. But it came way too late. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I get it if you don't. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I folded the letter and glanced over at my desk where I kept pictures of the life I'd built since. My little villa just outside Bologna. The restoration project I'd been consulting on, an old 16th century monastery. The Italian team I worked with who actually respected me. I grabbed my notebook and started writing. Not to send anything, just to get my thoughts out. Jenna, apologies don't fix broken trust. They don't undo years of being taken for granted. You're sorry now because you're dealing with the fallout, not because you understood what you were doing when it mattered. I set the pen down and made up my mind. I wasn't going to respond. Sometimes, silence says more than any words ever could. That's when my phone rang. It was Camilla, the architect I'd been working with on the monastery. We've been spending more time together lately. Dinners, evening walks through Bologna, conversations that didn't revolve around bills or guilt. Ciao, Colin, she said. Are you free for lunch? I want to show you something special. For you? Always, I told her, tossing Jenna's letter in the trash and grabbing my jacket. The past was over. The future was wide open. Exactly 1 year after I walked away from everything, I stood in the courtyard of that old monastery, watching master craftsmen finish the final stonework, something that would still be standing 400 years from now. The project was done. It was stunning. And yeah, it turned a profit. But more than that, it mattered. Camilla walked up and linked her arm with mine. Penny for your thoughts? I smiled, just thinking how different life looks from this angle. She already knew my story. Not the gritty details, just the heart of it. I'd been with someone who didn't see my worth. And I finally found people who did. Any regrets? She asked. I thought about it for a moment. That house in Ridgewood Heights? Probably in the bank's hands now. Jenna was figuring out what it meant to pay her own way. Linda was learning senior living wasn't as sweet when someone else wasn't footing the bill. None, I said, and I meant it. My phone buzzed, text from Trevor back in South Carolina. Divorce finalized yesterday. You're officially free. I showed the message to Camilla. She smiled and kissed my cheek. So, what now? She asked. Now we build something real, I said. That monastery was becoming a retreat center for architects, artists, craftsmen. And Camilla and I? We bought it together. Equal partners in the business and in the dream. She brought the creative spark. I brought the know-how. Together, we built something neither one of us could have pulled off alone. Colin, she said gently, I got an email today. There's a development company in Rome that wants us to consult on their next big project. Interested? She asked. Only if you are, I said. We're partners. Remember? Partners, she repeated. And this time, it actually meant something. Funny thing is, partnership was a word Jenna used all the time when describing our marriage. She just never actually practiced it. But Camila? She understood it. Real partnership. Equal effort. Mutual respect. A shared dream we were both willing to work for. I glanced around the monastery courtyard one more time. In just 5 months, this place would be welcoming its first group of retreat guests. Craftsmen from all over the world coming to learn time-honored skills, to build with their hands, to create something that would outlive them. Let's do it, I said. We headed back toward the villa we'd bought together. Our kitchen table was buried under architectural sketches, floor plans, and scribbled ideas, and beside them, a couple bottles of local wine waiting for the evening. Camila paused to study a fine detail in the stonework. I watched her focused, passionate, exact. That same fire I'd always felt for building, she had for design. This was what partnership really looked like. Not one person carrying the weight while the other coasted. Not one chasing dreams while the other watched. But two people, side by side, building something that mattered. My name's Colin Mercer. I'm 47 years old. I used to flip houses for quick profit. Now I restore old buildings so they can stand another 100 years. I used to pay the bills for a family that treated me like a walking ATM. Now, I share my life with someone who sees me as me. And that family vacation? The one I refused because my wife invited her ex-boyfriend? Best decision I ever made. Because sometimes, before you can build something solid, you've got to tear down what was never built right to begin with.